bright sunshine of a summer morning shone down on the peaceful city of Corvallis, Oregon. Brooke Wilberger, a 19-year-old girl with shiny blonde hair and a radiant smile, was eagerly starting her new workday at the Oak Park apartment complex. She had no idea that this would be the last day she would see the sunlight. Stephanie, Brooke's sister, looked out the window and saw her sister filling a bucket with water outside the complex. The clock showed 10 a.m., and Brooke had promised to join her for lunch. Stephanie smiled, thinking about the pleasant conversation they would have. But fate had other plans for Brooke. When the clock struck 1 p.m., Stephanie began to feel worried. Brooke had never been this late before. She decided to go look for her sister, not knowing she was about to step into a nightmare that would last for years. Stepping outside, Stephanie's heart nearly stopped at the sight before her. The bucket Brooke had used that morning was still there, next to the lamppost she had just cleaned. But what made Stephanie tremble was her sister's flip-flops, lying abandoned nearby. One had a broken strap, as if Brooke had struggled desperately. The muddy footprints on the ground terrified Stephanie even more. They slid down close to the sandal marks, as if Brooke had tried to cling to the ground as she was dragged away. Stephanie felt her throat tighten, an overwhelming sense of fear rising within her. With shaking hands, Stephanie's husband called 911 at 3:07 p.m. His voice broke as he reported Brooke missing. The police quickly arrived at the scene, immediately recognizing this was not a normal disappearance. Brooke's wallet, purse, phone, and car were all still intact. Only the young girl had vanished without a trace. A witness reported hearing screams around 10:30 a.m., but when they looked outside, they saw nothing unusual. Now those statements made everyone shudder. Could that have been Brooke's final desperate cry for help? News of Brooke's mysterious disappearance quickly spread across the country. The media flocked to Corvallis, making the case one of the most widely publicized investigations in Oregon history. Brooke's smiling face appeared on every newspaper and news broadcast, along with police appeals for information. While the country was buzzing about Brooke's disappearance, the team of investigators began their work with high determination. They knew the first 48 hours were the most crucial time to find clues, and not a moment could be wasted. Just hours after Brooke vanished, police began thoroughly examining every resident in the Oak Park complex. They knocked on every apartment door, interviewing everyone about what they had seen or heard on that fateful morning, but it seemed no one had noticed anything unusual. At the same time, investigators quickly expanded their search area. They interrogated about 2,000 registered sex offenders in the area, hoping to find someone with the motive and ability to carry out such a bold abduction. However, this search also yielded no significant results. The police hotline rang constantly day and night. People from all over the country called to report that they had seen Brooke. Each call was carefully considered, but time and again, they led to dead ends. Seemingly promising leads quickly evaporated, leaving behind disappointment and growing desperation. Meanwhile, police were also investigating another suspicious case. Just weeks before Brooke disappeared, a man had been arrested for stealing thousands of pieces of women's underwear from university dormitories. Could this be a sign of a predator preparing for a bigger crime? Investigators focused on this suspect, but ultimately found no connection between him and Brooke's disappearance. As the weeks passed, the anxiety of Brooke's family grew. They organized prayer vigils, distributed flyers, and constantly appeared on television to appeal for public help. But with each passing day without news of Brooke, the hope of finding her safe became increasingly fragile. The police continued to work tirelessly, pursuing even the smallest leads. They searched the area around where Brooke disappeared, checked hundreds of vehicles, and interviewed thousands of people. But it seemed Brooke had vanished without a trace, as if she had been swallowed by the earth. As the 6th month since Brooke's disappearance passed, the case seemed to have reached a dead end. The investigators had exhausted all leads, all possibilities. They continued to work, but with an increasing sense of desperation. Would they ever find out the truth about what happened to Brooke? But then, like a bolt of lightning from a clear sky, another case thousands of kilometers away opened up a new line of investigation. revealing dark secrets that no one could have imagined. November 20th, 2004, a cold afternoon in Albuquerque, New Mexico, more than 200 kilometers from Corvallis. Dara Finks, a waitress, was driving with her 3 young daughters. Suddenly, a horrifying sight appeared before them. A naked woman running across the road, her face panicked and desperate. Dara's heart pounded as she realized something was terribly wrong. Without hesitation, she drove closer to the trembling woman. The blonde woman frantically sought help, her eyes full of fear. Dara opened the car door, letting the naked woman climb in. "He has a knife," the woman whispered, her voice shaking. "He's trying to kill me." Dara quickly locked the car doors, her heart racing as she looked around for the attacker. It was then that the woman screamed in terror, pointing to a small red car parked nearby. Inside, a man was staring at them, his gaze cold and threatening. Without hesitation, Dara called 911, her hands shaking as she described the man and the car to the dispatcher. Police quickly arrived at the scene, but the attacker had vanished into the night. At the police station, the horrifying story gradually unfolded. The blonde woman, a 22-year-old exchange student from Russia, recounted that she had been walking along the sidewalk when she was attacked from behind. The attacker held a knife to her throat and pulled her into his car. There, he sexually assaulted her and then tied her up with shoelaces. The attacker then drove to a rundown apartment complex. In a moment of luck, the victim managed to escape when he left the car to enter an apartment. She ran away naked, desperately seeking help. The police quickly began their investigation, with important clues from the victim's testimony. She described the attacker and his car in detail, including specific details like red flower-patterned seat covers and a small stuffed animal hanging on the window. Just days later, thanks to these detailed descriptions, the police arrested the suspect. Joel Courtney, 38, married with 3 children. Courtney was charged with sexual assault, kidnapping, and aggravated assault. But as investigators dug deeper into his past, they began to suspect that this was not Courtney's first crime. Prosecutor Teresa Whatley commented, "Behavioral and psychological analysis of criminals suggests that you don't start grabbing people off the street in broad daylight and pulling them into your car when you're nearly 40 years old." This comment opened up a broader investigation into Courtney's past. What they discovered made everyone shudder. Just 6 months before the attack in Albuquerque, Courtney's wife had filed for a restraining order, accusing him of choking her. Courtney's sister revealed that he had a genius-level IQ, but had fallen into drug use and Satan worship. He had frequently been in and out of juvenile detention centers for crimes such as sexual assault, and had even tried to attack his own sister. As investigators continued to dig into Courtney's past, they discovered a crucial detail. He had been arrested in Lincoln County, Oregon, for driving under the influence in January 2004. Because Courtney failed to appear in court, an arrest warrant had been issued for him. This was the final piece connecting Courtney to Brooke Wilberger's disappearance. When a detective in New Mexico called the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office to inquire about the DUI case, he also revealed details about the sexual assault in Albuquerque. These details sounded strangely familiar to Brooke's case. In the blink of an eye, Joel Courtney went from being a sexual assailant in New Mexico to the prime suspect in Brooke Wilberger's disappearance in Oregon. The investigation began to progress at a dizzying pace, revealing dark secrets that no one could have imagined. With Joel Courtney becoming the main suspect, the investigation into Brooke Wilberger's disappearance entered a new phase. Investigators began tracing Courtney's movements, trying to determine his location on the day Brooke vanished. They quickly discovered that in May 2004, Courtney and his family had visited his sister in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. This placed him near Corvallis at the time of Brooke's disappearance. But was there enough evidence to connect him to the case? The answer lay in Courtney's cell phone data. Investigators discovered that on the morning of May 24th, Courtney's phone had connected to cell towers in Corvallis, the exact area and time of the abduction. This was crucial evidence placing Courtney at the scene of the crime. But the strongest evidence was yet to come. When searching the truck Courtney had been driving at the time, Investigators discovered what they called the silver bullet, Brooke's DNA mixed with Courtney's DNA inside the vehicle. This was undeniable evidence that Brooke had been in Courtney's truck. With this evidence, in August 2005, Joel Courtney was officially charged with 19 counts related to the Brooke Wilberger case, including murder, kidnapping, and rape. However, Courtney continued to adamantly deny all charges. Meanwhile, the Albuquerque case was also going to trial. In September 2007, Courtney pleaded guilty to the sexual assault in New Mexico and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. But this was just the beginning of his legal nightmare. It wasn't until 2009, nearly 5 years after Brooke's disappearance, that Courtney finally confessed to killing Brooke. He agreed to confess in exchange for prosecutors not seeking the death penalty. Courtney's confession revealed horrifying details about what happened to Brooke in the final hours of her life. According to his statement, Courtney had been driving around the area near the university, looking for a female student to attack. When he spotted Brooke alone, he acted. Courtney pulled her into his car, tied her up, and drove her to a remote forest outside town. There, he brutally raped and murdered Brooke. This confession ended years of pain and uncertainty for Brooke's family. Courtney was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Justice was finally served, but at a terrible cost. However, one question remained unanswered. Where was Brooke's body? Although Courtney had confessed to his crime, he still refused to reveal the exact location where he had hidden Brooke's remains. This was a lingering pain for her family, who still longed to give their daughter a proper burial. Although the killer had paid for his crime, for Brooke's family, the story was not over. For 5 years since Brooke's murder, they had desperately searched for her body. Each day that passed without knowing where their beloved daughter was brought them pain. Finally, in 2009, a glimmer of hope appeared. Joel Courtney, the man who had taken Brooke's life, agreed to reveal where he had hidden her body. However, even in this moment, he tried to bargain. Courtney would only provide the information if he could serve his life sentence in New Mexico, closer to his family. It was a difficult decision for the prosecutors and Brooke's family, but they eventually agreed, hoping to finally find peace for Brooke. Under Courtney's guidance, investigators went to a remote forest where he claimed to have hidden Brooke's body. The search process was tense and painful, with hope and fear intermingling in the hearts of all involved. After hours of exhausting search, they finally found Brooke's remains. Her body was partially identified by a watch her mother had given her for Christmas before she died. It was a moment of both pain and relief for Brooke's family. Finally, they could bring their beloved daughter home. Brooke's funeral was held in an atmosphere of sorrow, but also full of love. Hundreds of people came to remember the beautiful and vibrant young woman who had been so cruelly taken away. Tributes to Brooke's kindness, intelligence, and optimistic spirit echoed throughout the ceremony, reminding everyone of her short but meaningful life. Brooke Wilberger's story left a profound impact not only on her loved ones, but also on the entire community. The case has been featured in several true crime documentaries, including On the Case with Paula Zahn, Beauty and the Beast, 2010, FBI Criminal Pursuit Predator, 2011, and Motives and Murders, Cracking the Case, An Angel Taken, 2016. These programs not only recounted Brooke's tragic story, but also highlighted the tireless work of investigators in bringing the killer to justice. The Brooke Wilberger case also led to changes in how missing persons cases are investigated. It emphasized the importance of information sharing between law enforcement agencies nationwide, as in this case, where the attack in New Mexico helped solve the case in Oregon. For Brooke's family and friends, although the pain of loss never completely fades, they have found the strength to continue living and honor Brooke's memory. They established a scholarship fund in Brooke's name to help other students pursue their dreams, ensuring that Brooke's spirit and kindness will continue to live on. Brooke Wilberger's story is a painful reminder of the fragility of life and the existence of evil in our world. But at the same time, it is also a testament to the power of love, perseverance, and justice. Although Brooke left too soon, her life and legacy continue to inspire many. reminding us to cherish every moment and always fight for justice.